Hey, everybody, you are very welcome to today's episode of Corporate to Cam. I am joined by Nicole Kalil, and I am so happy to introduce Nicole. Go for it. Tell me all about you and tell me about your journey from corporate to Cam.
Well, thank you first and foremost for having me. It's an honor to be here. And there's something about your accent already makes me feel calm. Um, and that was not my experience in corporate. It was the opposite of calm.
Yes.
uh, I feel like it's such a big question to share my journey. So I'll try to hit the high points. But of course, you can ask me anything. Nothing's off limits. The bulk of my professional career was spent at a Fortune 100 company here in the US in finance, which is a very male dominated field. And I had a lot of success there, but it came to a point where I recognized I wasn't bringing my authentic self to the table. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was trying to over rotate on all of my masculine qualities to try to fit in. And I was setting aside, ignoring, stuffing down any of the more feminine qualities. And I was kind of depressed and unhappy and uncomfortable in my own skin. And it began a internal journey around building confidence because in my role, a lot of people assumed I was a confident woman. I got that comment very often, but I felt like I was living a lie because how I felt on the inside did not match at all the way it looked on the outside. And so that journey led me to eventually leave my corporate role and start my own business and all the fears and risks and doubts and all of the stuff that happened there, but it was absolutely the right decision for me. And today, I spend the bulk of my time speaking. That includes hosting my own podcast as well, so I know how much goes into it. And I wrote a book and all that fun stuff. I don't know if I'm quite at the calm part of
Yeah.
life yet, but I'm definitely heading in that direction, and I'm very grateful for that. Um,
I
yeah.
think, I think, yeah, it's so funny because I have this conversation with so many people, and it's like corporate to Cam. It was such good alliteration. I think when we embark on our own businesses, it's like, oh my God, where is the Cam?
Yeah. It's
What's
fleeting
going?
moments at best, at least early on, right?
It's like, okay, I'll pretend there's Cam. I'll pretend. But so you left. How long ago did you leave the
7
corporate
years
world?
ago now.
7 years. Okay, so quite a similar timeline to myself. What prompted the book? Was that something that when you were in corporate you wanted to do, or was this something that kind of evolved from moving from the corporate life?
Yeah, so I think there are really three primary reasons I wrote the book. The first is I've always wanted to. It's a bucket list thing. I'm an avid reader, so even as a teenager, I was like, I want to write my own book. So this was just something I've always wanted to do. The second thing that really prompted the action of writing the book, that took it from I've always wanted to me actually doing it, was a statistic I had read that said at the time, it was about 2.5 years ago, that 92% of all business books are written by men.
Wow.
And it just like blasted my mind that everything we're learning as women, but really as people, regardless of gender, about what it means to be professional, about what it means to be successful, about what it means to be confident, we're learning from primarily the masculine lens. And I am not anti-men. I do not advocate for women at the expense of men,
Mhm.
but there was a balance that was missing for me that I really felt inspired to try to provide.
I love
And then
that.
the third reason was I'm just really passionate about the topic of confidence, what it is, what it isn't, how we actually build it. And as is true for so many of us, something that was really important to me personally, it's something that stemmed from a lot of pain, ended up becoming my life's work. It was one of those things I found some solutions. I found some things that worked. I found some meaningful information for me. And then I just wanted to share it
Mhm.
with others. So those are, I mean, there are lots of reasons, but those are probably the top three.
And it's so funny because I love that, because I think as women we put so many barriers in our own way of progressing, and it's so refreshing to hear, like, we need to help each other to take those barriers down, because you are so far along your journey, I'm so far along mine, but it's like there's so many people behind, and it's like, come on, come with us, rather than waiting for something to happen, because you're the only one that can really push you.
Well, and specifically in the area of confidence, we are so confused, and we're surrounded by messages and people telling us to be confident, but nobody's telling us how we actually become or build confidence. And if
Yeah.
they are, they're doing it totally from the masculine lens. Again, not anti-masculine. I have a lot of
Yeah.
masculine qualities, but it's not balanced. It's not the whole story. And unfortunately, this over rotation towards the masculine as it relates to confidence is speaking more about arrogance and ego, and in some cases, narcissism.
Mm.
And that's not at all what confidence is. So, yeah.
And it, as well as that, as women, it's nearly showing courage to pretend confidence until you really reach there. I think that's sometimes that the whole barrier as well, that sometimes you need a little bit of courage before you attain that confidence.
Well, absolutely. It's the old adage, fake it till you make it. I don't it's semantics, but I don't love that verbiage
No,
because of
I
the
understand. Yeah.
faking it part, but I always say choose it until you become it. Choose confidence minute by minute, day by day, over and over until the feeling catches up. So, of course, to your point, that requires a great deal of courage to choose something that you're not currently feeling.
And tell me about the title, because I first came across you on LinkedIn, and the title, I just loved it so much. I mean, we see so much on social media where people are like, everything is for likes and for follows, and sometimes the authenticity goes. And I loved it. It so resonated with me. So tell me where it came from.
Yeah, so validation is for parking is the title. Um, so I actually did a title workshop. My publisher connected me to a woman who all she does is help authors come up with their titles. Thank
Wow.
goodness for her because I had no idea. And she gave me the advice. She's like, the title of the book shouldn't tell you necessarily what the book is about. The title of the book should capture people's attention. So we went through a lot of things, but to make a long story short, I like the title because it ties into confidence. It gives you a hint about what the book is about. It does, it pique curiosity, but it also fits my personality. It's a little snarky. Um, so for all those reasons, the subtitle is How Women Can Beat the Confidence Con. And that is actually what the book is
Yeah.
about. But
Yeah.
yes, to your point, oh my gosh, we've turned into rabid validation junkies.
Yes.
Um, and a lot of times it's through no fault of our own. It's what we've been conditioned. It's what we've been taught. It's the society and culture we live in. And it takes a lot of effort and work to separate yourself from that need for validation. I want to be clear. Validation still feels good. I enjoy a compliment or positive feedback. Like I'm not saying, that. I always say it should be icing on the confidence cake,
Yeah.
not the cake itself.
Yeah, I love that. That's really, like, it is profound, because I think a lot of the time we don't think about it. And it is just about, like, sometimes putting your hand in your heart and going, I'm okay with me, and I'm okay with what I'm doing. I really don't need outside, knocking in and giving their opinion. So
Yep.
it really resonated. As far as, you know, let's separate validation from support, say. And recently it was International Women's Day, and you've introduced the word snarky, and I'm wondering, like, have we as women, like, evolved that we can genuinely support one another without looking at what is in it for us, or without feeling that fear and jealousy? Do you think that we have evolved that far, or have we ways to go? Or
I would put it in the same category as equity or the wage gap. It's like we've come a long way, but we still have a lot of work to do. I am a huge advocate of women supporting women. I think the way we talk about each other, the way we talk to each other, the comments that we make, we are literally teaching people how to think about us, how to communicate to and about us. And we're doing it badly in a lot of cases. I actually did an episode on my podcast pretty recently called, The Green-Eyed Monster, is about envy, jealousy, competition, and all of that. And I'm human. I absolutely feel envy and jealousy at moments. And I certainly have women that I do not love, respect, like, or want to hang out with. But I still, in my mind, have the responsibility to teach people how we communicate or what we say or what we focus on. God, we have so much work to do in this space. And whether it's comparison, judgment, envy, jealousy, all of those things, I would lovingly remind all of us that those feelings tell us a lot more about us than they do about the other person.
Yeah.
It gives us insight into what we value, our beliefs, our perspectives, what really matters, but our judgments about other people always say more about the person doing the judging than the person being judged. And I think when you come from that lens, it's a little harder um, to say some of the things that are being said or do some of the things that are being done, or like, yeah.
And what about people in your circle, or maybe people that, are peers or maybe slightly ahead of you? Or is there anybody that kind of shines this light and is a beacon for, confidence besides yourself? But is there
Mhm.
anybody that you would really just think is the essence of this and support?
Yeah. So, one of the mistakes I think we do as women is we have a tendency to hone in and focus on only a select few really popular,
Yeah.
really big, really well known women. So, from that lens, I think of people like Pink or Brene Brown, or, there are a lot of people, but I'm going to say some names that your listeners probably have never
Oh,
heard
I
of,
love it.
or yeah.
Yes.
So one of my best friends, Kim Andrade, is a leadership coach, and she is taught me so much about what it means to be confident, to live confidently from a very young age. I've known her since elementary school,
Wow.
and just being able to watch the journey to be part of that has been so inspiring to me. I think of women like Gina DeVee, who I only met myself maybe a year ago. And she has a top podcast. She's this incredible woman, but she's introduced me to so many people and opened so many doors and made so many things possible for me in a very non-public way, all behind the scenes. That is what I think about when I think about women supporting women. Like, there's nothing in it for her. I keep looking for ways to thank her and to give back in some way, but um so Heather Monahan is another good example. She has a podcast called The Confidence Creator, or Creating Confidence, I think.
I
Something
know
about,
Heather from LinkedIn. She's
okay.
just she's so amazing because it's like reply to,
Yeah.
comments and, so supportive.
Yes, she's incredible. But her topic, she wrote a book and has a podcast about confidence. You would think we would see each other as maybe competition, or or I would see her as competition. She's further ahead than me. But that's not the case at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. The
I
fact, well,
think
I'm like, we have the same surname, myself and Heather. So like, I'm always
yeah,
like,
that's right. Yeah.
but I
That's
love
right.
that. I love what you talk about there, because we do put so many women that are, you know, eons ahead of us, that we put these people on pedestals and we're like, oh, this is where it's like, why can't we aspire to be why can't we aspire to be like our peers? to the people left and right of us rather than looking so far ahead. And that's where the community is derived from as well, isn't it?
100%. I mean, I admire the crap out of Michelle Obama, but I don't know how to apply what's going on in her everyday
Yeah.
life to my everyday life. The gap is so huge. That doesn't mean I can't learn from her, or I can't respect her, or I can't, but I just think we do ourselves and other women a disservice when we only focus on the names that everybody knows.
I love that. I love that. And what about you as far as a mission statement or a mantra? Is there something that you kind of live by, or, this year, maybe 2023 has kind of something for you?
Yeah, so I think mostly around my definition of confidence. Confidence is when you know who you are, own who you're not, and choose to embrace all of it. And so my mission is to connect more people, women especially,
Mhm.
to that definition of confidence when they know themselves. There's a high degree of self awareness, self appreciation. They also own what they're not. There's a acceptance of I'm not meant for everyone, everything, all the time, to all people. And there are certainly people and things that are not for me. And that is not only okay, but it should be honored. And then this opportunity that we all have to embrace all of that, thereby embracing all of ourselves all of the time.
I love it. And as far as, when you started out a few years ago, what were the three things that helped you to get to where you are in business today? So if we kind of bring it a little bit back to, say, somebody who is maybe, a little bit behind you, and you're kind of like encouraging them on what they might do to start a business to bring themselves on.
Are you looking for more tactical things
I
or
suppose,
more?
yeah, yeah, leaving the confidence aside, because obviously I think sometimes that's what's needed to take the leap. But
Yeah.
yeah, things that might have worked for you, or things that you would have done differently.
Yeah, so, like, hard work, courage, confidence, I think those things or some version of those things are required from all of us when we do something big and brave. Um, Tactically, I started out with a list of things I knew I wanted to do, but I
Mm,
also started with a list of things I knew I didn't wanna do.
okay.
And then there was a lot of things that are question marks in the middle. And the reason I think this is important is because, at least for me, there could have been pressure. There could have been opportunities or, roads I could have walked down that would have had me doing things I did not want to be doing just because I needed to make money or whatever. So for me, knowing like I do not want to get in the recruiting space. That's what was true for me. But
Okay.
how many people reached out to me and were like, "Hey, can you help me recruit more women?" And I was like, "No, let me refer you to other people who do that." Which brings me to another tactical thing: create cross referral relationships. Know what you do, know what you're willing to test out. But when you know people are going to reach out to you for things that you don't want to be doing, that aren't the most effective use of your time, that you're not going to do at an A plus level. Because if you don't do it at an A plus level, you're not going to get plus
Mm.
endorsements or feedback or referrals. And you're end up shooting yourself in the foot. Kind of this stay in your lane, be willing to test out some things, but don't go too far outside of it. So back to the cross referral relationships is if I am not going to play in the recruiting space, I better know 3 or 4 people who I know do good work that do. And then they need to know what I do and refer me when somebody reaches out to them for something that they don't do. So creating these cross referral relationships, and then holding the expectation of if I send you referrals, I expect you to send me because there are a bazillion people who are out there doing what we do.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to reciprocate, that's fine. I just need to build a new cross referral
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Um, and then I know this may seem like a random thought, but for me, getting my financial world in order made a big difference in how I started my business and lessened the amount of fear and anxiety and doubt that was going on. So that really meant reworking budgets, cutting out everything that wasn't absolutely necessary right when we started, having an idea of exactly what I needed to be contributing to the household to make it all work. And I had a must do number.
Right.
I had I think I can do this, and like a big goal. And then I mapped everything out, including my pricing and, how many clients I needed and what I was going to go after based on the numbers. And of course, I didn't hit my must do number every month. Those first few months, I had a little bit of savings set aside. And so I'd pull some and make up the difference. And then I had a month where I did more than my must do number, and then I'd replenish it. It just, it helped it so that my personal life and my household wasn't riding the emotional roller coaster that my brand new business was.
And what would you say as far as kind of niching? Did you do that? Were you all things we talked about being all things to all people?
Mhm.
Who were you identifying as clients?
Yeah, so early on, I worked predominantly in the financial services space.
Right.
I was, I knew exactly who my target audience was. Now, I think that that's sort of grown and evolved. But I think it's important. Uh, I the To the extent that I show up authentically, I believe I will attract the right people for me. And so while I'm clear about who my ideal client is or my target audience, I spend more energy trying to show up as my best, most authentic self. Because the reality is, in order for me to have a successful business, I need less than 0.01% of the entire population to
Yeah.
like me, and I'll be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
I do not need to appeal to 99.9% of the world. 99.9% of the world can think I'm a complete hack, and I'll still make millions upon millions of dollars if that's the goal. So uh, I do always have my niches and my ideal clients in mind. But one of the things that I think year over year being in business has taught me is the more closely I'm connected to who I am and how I'm wired and how I work, and the more authentically I show up, the more my people find me, and the
Mhm.
more I enjoy doing the work that I'm doing, and the greater impact that I have, and the more profitable I am.
And how do you show up for your clients? Like, what is it, one to one? Is it group work? Is it?
Yeah, great question. So the bulk of my work is in speaking engagements. So whether it's virtually or in person, it's one to many. Podcast falls in that space too,
Yeah.
though I will say for me, the podcast, I haven't spent any energy trying to monetize or figure
Yeah.
out how to make it profitable. To me, that's my passion project. I do individual coaching. I have done group coaching and masterminds. And will probably find my way back to some of that,
Mhm.
but, um,
Yeah.
and in the
I,
last couple of years, it's been a lot about writing the book, which took
yeah.
a ton of time.
Which we actually spoke about before we came on, and it's like a lot of learnings from writing the book, and how you stretch yourself and everything like that. So
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard, hard, hard. I'm glad I did it, but it was the professional equivalent of having a child.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it. It's so close to you, and you're putting yourself out there to be judged essentially, even though
Mhm.
that's not, I mean, that shouldn't be what it's about, but it does end up being about that. And then I suppose promotion as well is so tough, I'd say.
Yeah, oh, that was the hardest part, the,
Yeah.
publishing and promotion. I thought writing it was gonna be the biggest
Yeah.
challenge, and don't get me wrong, that wasn't easy, but that was significantly easier than the marketing and
Yeah.
publishing of the book.
Yeah, I can imagine. How do you stay accountable? So like, what do you have, targets? Do you have goals? How do you
Mhm.
stay accountable, annually, quarterly?
Yeah, so great question. Um, the answer is, a little strange. the corporate culture I came from had a hyper focus on accountability. And
Okay.
the word left me now with a bad taste in my mouth. Like when people say accountable, I go, "Ooh." I personally have a high degree of ownership, especially professionally. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm very tenacious and so I'm not saying I don't require accountability if like every human does, but I prefer to put it into just a different category, a high
Okay.
degree of ownership, being really clear that something is meaningful to me, not goals for the sake of goals,
Yeah.
but what really matters. Is this going to get me to what I really want? I have 2 coaches. I also have peers that I connect with on a regular basis. I have my own mastermind that I participate in. Uh, so going public with goals, those are all tactical things that I think help me be accountable. This year is the first year here in 2023. I've entered the year without a business plan, without any business goals, without any strategies, metrics, or tactics. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that I'm going to stay in this place all year. But at the end of the day, a year is an arbitrary period of time. And anything I would have come up with coming into this year would have been to check a box or for the sake of doing it. And I couldn't do that to myself. So
Mhm.
my guess is in the next few months here, I'll come up with a few things and, it might be by the end of the year, it might be a different arbitrary period of time.
Yeah. I
But
love that. I love that because it's funny. I kind of came into 2023 not similarly, but around, and it was like it's my pace and my serenity because I think that we do things because we think it's expected of us, and we need to hit that next goal, and we need to sell that next product, and we need to, and there, if we're paying the bills and we don't really
yes,
need to do anything,
right.
it's like we can take that time out and we can, check in with ourselves. And I love that. I love that. Because as you say,
And
it mightn't be forever, but
yeah, no, oh, it certainly won't be forever. And I acknowledge the privilege and I'm grateful that I can do this, that I don't, have the financial pressure or like worrying about whether or not I can pay my mortgage or put food,
yeah.
so I'm grateful that I can do this. But this is, I think, my version of calm. The theme of this year for me has been ease and flow.
Love it.
Which is, by the way, the opposite of any theme of any year. I'm usually more tenacity and, make it happen. But
Talking about your tenacity and, as far as being efficient with your time, both personally and professionally, like what do you do to switch off? Do you have daily habits for you that you can attribute to your success in business, but they're personal to you and it's your you time?
yeah, I do. So a few things. I finally have bought into. I'm the engine that my business runs on, and taking care of the engine, fueling the engine, feeding the engine is of utmost priority. And I do that inside of working hours. I think a lot of times we get the advice to do it outside of working
Mhm.
hours, and I also happen to know by design I'm a low energy person, and so I have to be really mindful about
Okay.
what gives me energy, what's depleting it, and all that. So a few examples. I always have buffer periods when I end my day to when I walk out of my office. I work from home even prior to COVID. But that I was doing this, like finishing up my last call, running out to be with my family, and my brain and my feet were in like 2 different places. I felt like I was doing the mental splits, right? Because I was thinking about what I hadn't finished or what I did, and then it just was messy, and I was snippy and not at my best. And so now, if you look at my schedule, the last meeting of my day to when I walk out, there's always a buffer period, even if it's only 10 minutes, but more often than not, it's 30 minutes. And I close out and then I think about who do I want to be when I walk out of this door? How am I going to be present? And what's the experience I'm looking to create? What's the experience I'm looking for? and just being mindful. So it's not, so I don't default to chaos and all of that. Um, I communicate my expectations to clients. None of my clients think I'm accessible in the evening or on the weekends. I don't respond on the
Yeah.
evenings or the weekends. I learned the hard way. If you do even once, then all of a sudden they think you do. I often have an out of office response, even when I'm not out of the office. And I
Yeah.
say something to the effect of, in an effort to be as engaged and present with the people I'm spending time with today, I don't check my emails during the day. If this is urgent, contact my team member. If not, I'll get back to you in 48 hours. If I'm traveling for personal, like vacation, I basically say, you're not hearing from me.
Okay.
Um, so like there are things like that that just work for me to protect my time and create efficiencies. I also work out during normal working hours. I read during normal working hours. This makes me better,
Yeah.
more effective, and more efficient. Um, and then there's, the normal tactical things that you've all heard of before, like templates and delegating and,
Yeah.
hiring great people and all that stuff.
And so what is, you've mentioned, no goals or timelines for 2023, but have you anything in the back of your head that you're kind of thinking, hey, I'm going to be working on that? Or is there any projects in the pipeline?
No real projects. Maintaining and growing my podcast and continuing to promote the book. That's one of the things I love about the book that I sort of forgot about during the
Mhm.
launch period, is that it is something that's evergreen. It's just out there.
Yes.
So, spending time with people like you, having these conversations, getting the book in the hands of more people, that's a big priority. Um, but yeah, speaking, meeting new clients. I'd love to do something international. So far,
Yeah.
all of my work has been in the US,
Yeah.
as far as speaking is concerned. Actually, that's not true. I've done some virtual events, but it would be nice to step foot on a different country. But yeah, I mean, I think this year is less about new and different and more about, uh, this sort of essentialism concept, just sticking to what is the most important, most impactful things and saying no to everything else.
I love it. I love it. Tell me something not a lot of people know about you.
Um, I think the most surprising thing is that I am an extreme introvert.
Okay.
Um, People are often shocked about that. But yeah, I'm a total homebody. I always hope people will cancel or reschedule on me because yes, I have to work myself up to, and God, I'm the worst at like networking or small talk or meeting new people for the first time. I'm so socially awkward in those situations. And yeah,
That's so
I've just learned
funny.
to embrace it.
I gave a speech last Wednesday, and there was every age, and like there was 17-year-old guys in the crowd, and they were, doing this work experience from school, and there was every age, and we were talking I was talking about, connecting with people, and we were saying about I was saying about connecting with friends, and I like in my 40s, all I want to do is all I want to have is a friend cancel. It's like, who's going to cancel first?
Yeah. Yeah. There's like a meme going around that's like, I know I said yes to dinner 2 hours ago, but I was younger then and full of hope. And like, that's totally how I feel. When I say yes, I know I'm going to enjoy it. And I just had to get myself there. But
Yeah, I know it
yeah.
is. It is so. It's like, I'm always like, it's not my turn to cancel. Please cancel. um,
Yeah.
Nicole, at Corporate to Calm, we're about taking a risk and, creating your own happiness. And you did that when you moved from your corporate role and was, on this journey to see what could happen. What would you say to somebody that, whether they're in corporate or whether they're in one business and want to, move to another? What would you say to them?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, really connect with yourself. What really matters to you? What's most important? And head in the direction of what really matters at all times. not what matters to other people, not what you think should matter, not what people are telling you is supposed to matter, but when you are quiet and connected with yourself, what means the most? What are you most excited about? What lights you up from the inside? Chase that. And then the second thing I would add is a loving reminder that discomfort and fear and doubt are always part of the process. And we get the opportunity to choose the discomfort we don't know over the discomfort we do. And unfortunately, more often than not, people stay with the discomfort they know because they're so afraid of the discomfort they don't know. But let's be real, you're uncomfortable no matter what. If
Yeah.
you are unhappy at your job or not in a healthy relationship or wanting to do this thing you've always wanted to do, but not doing it, you are uncomfortable. But it's the discomfort we know. It's the discomfort we're comfortable with which sounds odd. Choose the discomfort you don't know or haven't experienced yet that gets you in the direction of what really matters. And the more you can do that over and over again, the faster you get where you really want to go.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And Nicole, I want to circle back to one thing. Just I have a coach, and it is life changing, and it's business changing, and it's what would you say to people who are thinking about, because I have so many colleagues and peers who are like, oh, I haven't hired a coach yet, or I haven't. What would you say to those people? Because sometimes they don't want to hear it from people that are really close to them.
Sure. Well, first, I think anybody who's serious about anything has a coach. I mean, you can't find a successful anyone. I mean, even like professional, athletes, they all have coaches. Everybody who's serious about performance, outcome, achievement, success, however you define it, has a coach. So, you can buy into the excuses not to do it, or you can buy into what really matters and what you want to accomplish. But having a coach is really, really important. Finding the right coach for you is the next step. And don't just hire the first person you meet or the one person in the space. Interview a few people, but have clarity. What's important to you? And then, just a loving reminder that nobody will be everything to everyone all the time. So, like, what is it you're looking for? If, for example, if you wanted an accountability coach, which is a very necessary and very real thing, but I am not your girl. Like, if somebody talks to me and they're like, I need a high level accountability, I'm like, okay, let me refer you
Yeah.
to somebody else. So be clear about what you want. Ask the coaches, what's their area of expertise and which way do they help people the most? What are some of their success stories? Ask them that, by the way, before you tell them what you're looking for. Because if you tell a coach what you're looking for, and then all of a sudden, some people, hopefully not that many, but some people will say, oh, yeah, I do that all the time. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I really want to know what you're good at, where you've seen success, how you've helped people.
I think that's a
And
great
yes,
tip.
thanks. Budget does matter. And whatever your budget is, you may want it to be a little bit of a stretch. You think of it as an investment, not an expense. There should be a return on that investment. But don't be afraid. I mean, I love when I talk to people and I'm outside their budget and I'm like, let me connect you with this person. Any coach worth their salt knows other coaches and can make that connection.
Love it. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I don't think so. Let me think. No, I mean, we've had such a good conversation, covered so much.
Oh, thank
No,
you
it's been
so
lovely.
much. Where can people find you, Nicole, and where can people purchase your book?
Yeah, so my website is NicoleKalil.com. That's where you can find literally everything I'm up to. Um, the book is called Validation is for Parking, is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can get it in bookstores, but I haven't found a lot of bookstores yet that have it on their shelves, but you can always ask and they can get it for you because I'm a big proponent of supporting your local bookstores.
Love it. I love it. Nicole Kalil, thank you so much for being a guest on the Corporate to Calm podcast. I really appreciate your time.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Corporate to Calm podcast. Please subscribe, leave a nice review. It really does make a difference. Or simply come back and listen to us next time. My name is Linda Monaghan, inspiring you to take that leap from corporate to calm.